ASW artists. Happy Tuesday. It's another Tuesday trivia event that we have. We open and then a soft opening. I still will be recording classes on YouTube. So it is our Tuesday trivia day. I cannot wait to share why I'm here. This is a little bit of a special week this week. So we're gonna rock out this in Chicago, one of my favorite groups. I just grew up outside of Chicago in Oak Park, Illinois. But we're gonna do some rocking this week to Chicago, and then I will get to our Tuesday trivia for today.
As I was walking down the street one day, a man came up to me and asked me what the time was that was on my watch. Yeah, I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? So I can't imagine why. Time enough to cry. I was walking down the street one day. A pretty lady looked at me and said her diamond watch had stopped cold dead. And I said, does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? So I can't imagine why. Time enough to cry.
Alright guys, so the reason, good, I hope you enjoyed that. So guys, the reason I'm getting here, this set, which is like kind of a creepy little house, was the set for the original series, The Addams Family. Now since then there's been many movie cartoons, including a current show called Wednesday Addams, which is based on a character from the Addams Family. But today we're going to watch a documentary from the stars of the original series, which ran from 1964 to 1966. And here's a fun fact, that the original Addams Family, that was based on a cartoon, an animated cartoon, or a cartoon that appeared in the New Yorker by a cartoonist named Charles Addams, and so it ran in the New Yorker from 1937 to 1938 and ran for over 50 years. So it was a cartoon, not a cartoon you see on TV, but a cartoon like you would find in a magazine. And then there was a series in 1964 to 66, and then since then there's been movies, and there is a new series called Wednesday Addams, which I believe is on Netflix. So for now, we're gonna go to our documentary, which features the original stars of the original series that ran from 1964 to 1966. And then we'll come back and we'll do our bonus round.
We didn't know that we were doing anything different or trend-setting or earth-shattering. It was a day's work, and we really enjoyed it, and we enjoyed being with each other.
You know, working on the Addams Family, it was a truly a wonderful show to do. I used to love to go to work. Not only get paid to do something, but, you know, you get to see just work with wonderful people.
The cast and the crew made it so wonderful for us kids that we just really had a pretty great time doing it.
The first meeting I had about the Addams Family, the idea was that I would play the butler. I would play the character who eventually became named Lurch. I left the meeting thinking, you know, this is never going to happen. Later that day, I got a phone call from one of the people who was in the room, a man named David Levy, who was the creator of the show. And he said, I have a slightly different approach to this, and I'd like to talk to you about it. He said, I don't want you to play the butler. He says, I want you to play the father. And what this show is, really, is father knows best with different people.
What are we going to do?
Darling, I must have time to think. After all, this isn't some boyish prank like setting the house on fire.
John Astin was a wonderful guy, very father-like. I feel as though he was a father-type figure. He always had that type of relationship with him. She had kids my age. John was very personable, a very funny man, and a very warm human being. You felt comfortable around him.
John Astin became like a second father to me, truly. And John and I have remained close over the years, but he was just so wonderful, so funny, so good with us kids, and just a prince of a man.
John Astin was great. I mean, I loved when he used to do the cigar. You know, he had his little cigar, and he smoked, and he shoved it in, stick it inside his pocket. And mostly, the fun was when Carolyn used to say something in French or wherever, and he used to grab her arm and kiss, you know. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to work with those people, really nice people.
C'est la danse.
Tish, when you speak French, it really drives me wild.
Mon ami.
Ah, that's it. Speak some more. Au revoir. Ooh la la.
We tested many people for Morticia, and we really had trouble finding the right person to play. And then one day someone came up with the idea of what about seeing if Carolyn Jones will do it? Now, Carolyn was a well-established movie star at that time, and they called her up, and when she said yes, we were all thrilled. We were very compatible, and I loved working with her, and we remained friends as long as she lived.
Carolyn was an elegant lady, very much like John, close, warm, but elegant was the word for her.
Carolyn Jones. We were very close. I was in the habit, even though I was only 6 years old, of calling people by their first name. And my mother reprimanded me and said, you call her Miss Jones, or you call him Mr. Astin. And Carolyn came up with something, and she said, Judy, to my mother, I'll tell you what, let's try this. Lisa, why don't you call me Miss Carolyn, and I'll call you Miss Lisa. So for the 2 years, that's the way it was.
Let me see your hands. Oh, excellent, Pugsley. The nails are nice and clean and sharp. And you did very well, too, Wednesday, darling.
I think we took a bath for nothing.
Working with Lisa and Kenny, I mean, it was a different thing. Kenny was a lot older than Lisa, and, you know, learned his lines and was always ready. You know, the kids weren't always there either. I mean, most of the writing went around the grown-ups in the show. But when Kenny had to perform, he was ready and always delivered.
I was excited to get the part, to be working regularly. I was born into a showbiz family, as you may know. everybody in my family's in the business. My father's side of the family is Lassie's. My uncle Rudd had Lassie. My mother's side of the family, my aunt was Ruby Keeler, who was married to Al Jolson. So everybody in my family works. And then I was about 7 years old when I got cast for that show, and I was happy I was going to be working too.
What'll it be today, Pugsley? A nice head-on collision?
Couldn't we have a derailment for a change?
Derailment it is!
Character development took place on the stage with John Astin, and Charles Addams, of course, worked in conjunction to build the characters, along with David Levy, the producer of the show. They wanted me to play it very straight, very stiff, without much emotion. They didn't want me to show any emotion whatsoever. They always wanted me to keep my eyes wide open. I had a tendency to close my eyes with the bright lights in my face all the time. So they were constantly, keep your eyes open. So all I could see was two big blue dots anytime I was on camera.
Here, I fixed it for you.
Actually, it's very handy.
Fixed it? That doll doesn't have a head.
It's Marie Antoinette. Grandmama told us about the French Revolution, and Paxley chopped off her head.
I was 5 and a half when I auditioned for this part. The producer, David Levy, told me later on, he said, I was not prepared to see children of your age that didn't know how to read yet. I didn't know how to read yet. But he said what got him was my long hair. So the first thing he asked me to do was pout. Won him over. The pout was very essential to the Wednesday character. Then I still had to do a screen test with, there was, I think, 5 or maybe 7, I don't even remember, little girls who had to be on screen with Carolyn and John. And I got the part at 5 and a half, and the series started filming right after I turned 6.
Thank you, Thing. But remember, nobody likes a smart thing.
The character of Wednesday Addams, as being a little girl, was sometimes difficult for me because she had to be morose. I was never allowed to smile. The pout was the thing. And yet, I worked with these people, John Astin, Carolyn Jones, Jackie Coogan, Ted Cassidy, everybody who were so funny and so wonderful. And I was just so happy. They'd have to stop if I wasn't pouting, you know, so, and I had to do that for 2 years, from 6 till 8 years old. So that was a little difficult because she was definitely Wednesday. Wednesday's child is full of woe. That's what was required, so it was interesting.
Lisa and I, we were about 3 years apart in age, and we didn't get along very much well at all on the set. They had to calm us down. We got along like a typical 6 and 8-year-old.
Kenny and I had a very difficult time in the beginning. We had certain jealousies. We were like a brother and sister. And of course, we went to school with a teacher from the Board of Education on the set, a tutor from the Board of Ed, when we were filming. And they at one time had to put up a partition between us because we would throw pens at each other. We would fight, our desks faced each other. So they put up a wood partition between us because we were just fighting like brothers and sisters.
We got along well. And we didn't get along well. And there's a lot of, chasing each other around the set and little wars and so on. But we were very close, and we've remained close all this time.
Cousin It?
Cousin It was a peculiar character that they brought into the show, and he became the family mascot. They called me in for an interview, and there was 2 gentlemen on stage, and they look at each other and they say, "Well, that's it." And I said, "What do you mean? What do you mean that's it?" They said, "That's it. I mean, come back Monday." Then we start working. There actually was 2 pieces. It was like a skirt type, and then it was like a wig on top of my head with a derby head and a pair of sunglasses, and they just brushed it down, blended it with the brush, and that's was it. I mean, it was Cousin It.
Felix, Cousin It. I loved to be around. He was the only one who was a little shorter than myself at 6.5 years old. And he was, to me, at that age, at 6.5, the way he interacted with Kenny and I, he was like another playmate. He was sweet, and we're still very close. We've stayed close throughout the years.
Cousin It was a confusing character, a good source of jokes, a good source of material. You could run with that one forever, of course.
Oh, I do hope the new neighbors will like the house. Do you think they will?
How can they help it?
It is nice and dismal, isn't it?
Don't be modest, my dear. It's absolutely bleak.
Thank you, darling.
The set was a beautiful set. And you see all these animals sticking out, you know, the fish with somebody's leg in the mouth, and the big Kodiak bear is standing there, and the plant that Carol and Miss Jones used to cut the feed every day, give them meat or whatever. I don't know what they were doing. It was really dark, but it was beautiful, yeah.
Being on that set was something that is out of this world. You couldn't imagine a more wonderful place for a 9, 10-year-old kid to play who's got a wonderful imagination, and I loved playing on that set. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful stage. It was fantastic. I couldn't compare it to anything else.
I must confess, I misjudged you people completely. Thank you.
I believe that the real charm of the Addams Family lies in the strength and the love of the family, the family unit. They, as weird and crazy and macabre as they were, really supported each other as a family. It was one of the first shows that you really ever saw in the 60s, a husband showing that kind of passion and affection for his wife. The Tish French thing, and when Gomez would go crazy. And even though weird and bizarre as they were, I think people really loved the family, loved the way, what they meant to each other, and how they treated each other, and how they supported each other. And then it was so different that it was just fun, you know? It's so bizarre, but it was, in a way, very normal because of their relationships.
The Addams Family was truly a unique family, quite close and loving, nuclear, functional, and different. The humor was on so many different levels, and it was so different from anything that was on television at the time. It was almost shocking to people. Some folks wanted to find something wrong with it, but they couldn't because it was quite innocent, well written, and it was a very close, loving family, normal, functional family. A little different, a little odd, but that's what made it. And we had no idea that it would be such a cult thing that it turned out to be today.
The undercurrent of this show was, in my view, rather profound, actually.
He's the smartest ape I ever met.
We were different people, but it was okay, because what really counted was what was inside and what we manifested in our relationships with one another. And so the show was, as much as anything, an affirmation of life, an affirmation of respect for humanity. And while its surface was not at all like this, underneath, that's what it was all about. I think it's why the show has continued to have an audience so many years after its inception.
Yes, I love watching documentaries. I love finding out, especially things about the industry. I always find it so fascinating how our show got started. I love how to learn about what it was like to work on set. And so I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. All right, let's go to our bonus round. Bonus question number 1. What year did the original television series the Addams Family premiere? What year did the original series, The Addams Family, premiere? That's question number one. Not the movie, not the cartoon, but the original series. Question number two. Name a character who was part of the Addams Family. So not the actor, but name the actual character. Bonus question number two. Name a character who was part of the Addams Family. So your bonus question number one is what year did the Addams Family, the TV series, what year did that premiere? Your bonus question number two is name a character from the Addams Family. So not the actor, but a character. All right? You know what to do. You call me at 323-364-2478, or you email me the answers at dejclass@gmail.com. All right? We're going to move it and group it with a little bit more Chicago, and I will see you guys tomorrow on my favorite Chicago song. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.